welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton. And today we're going to be talking with our Healthy Families consultant, Alvean Lyons, about ways to honor our community heroes. Welcome back, Alvean.
Thanks, Robin.
Community heroes is such an interesting term because heroes covers this giant, broad array of people. It can be, you know, your parents can be your personal heroes, or a teacher, or you can have heroes from history like Martin Luther King or Thomas Jefferson or whoever that might be. But community heroes, that's something we have as a core that we share with other people.
Right, and a different way to think about what it means to be a hero. Because we also think about our military when we think about heroes. I mean, the ultimate sacrifice. But a lot of times we don't think about even our local heroes. You have your military personnel that walk amongst us every single day.
Moms and dads.
Moms and dads, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Oh, gosh.
Every day we have first responders that put themselves in life and death situations every single day to make sure that we're safe, that sometimes we don't even recognize our police officers, our firefighters, our EMTs, there are people who don't get to sleep at night because they are up making sure that we can sleep well at night. And a lot of times they're not even part of the conversation. So really coming to a place where we're acknowledging those things is so important for your kids.
I think people forget about them except when they need them. I had a friend who had a very bad fire in her house, and she and her husband were just so, you know, when the firefighters come and they save your possessions and save your parts of your house at least.
Your pets.
You're there.
Right,
I mean, you really appreciate it, but until you have that need, you might forget them.
You forget that they exist. I mean, they're almost invisible among us. And they're doing things every day that make it possible for us to live the way that we do. When you think about the military, for instance, our ability to have freedom of speech is a byproduct of their willingness to lay their lives on the line for us to maintain that. The very privilege of having opinion and voicing it is offered to us by people who are willing to die for that to be the case. But we don't think about that. You know, we just talk and live and do what we do without recognition of the fact that there are really important people who are doing lots of things every day to make those possible.
Well, and right now, you know, the military has been fighting for years and years in wars, but it's all been offshore. We haven't had the personal sacrifice that people had to have in World War II. And I do think sometimes people forget. It's out of their consciousness.
Completely agree. And if it wasn't for the fact that we have a military family, while my husband and I are not military, our closest family members and friends are. So you really begin to realize what this looks like for other people in ways that you wouldn't even think about. So when we start talking about how we teach children this, we want to use a very simple acronym, SAFE, S-A-F-E. These are the people who are keeping us safe every day in 100 different ways that we may not even realize. And that piece that we were just talking about is the R-S, sacrifice. A lot of times we don't recognize the sacrifice that other people are making for us. The example that I was giving in terms of having family members, because I consider them my blood family, but family members who live like that, 2 years at a time, spouses are gone.
I know.
What that means for a household, at one point we had to combine our households because there was just so much that was going on and the need for that additional support with small children. We literally moved in together in order to close some of those gaps. And you don't even think about what it's like when your son goes to his first game or has the Father's Day at school and there's no dad to come to school with him.
You know, that was true in Cub Scouts because the rule in a camp out is you have to have a parent. And sometimes if there's one parent because somebody's deployed or serving elsewhere. You know, so we were a little creative and we, not to say didn't follow the rules, but we
had to get very creative about it. Absolutely.
But it wasn't always the parent.
And you don't even think about those things. You are mindful of some of the obvious things, but we don't often think about the small ways every single day that is affected. My daughter's married now, and her father-in-law, for instance, is a firefighter. There are days, 10 days at a time, that he's up all night long just responding to emergencies that are taking place. You don't think about that when you see this happy, cheerful guy. You're not thinking about the fact that 1/3 of his month, he practically doesn't sleep. You know, there are just so many factors that are involved. So teaching our kids first about what sacrifice is and the sacrifices that are taking place and what people are giving, what that really means in everyday small ways. There are kids that don't have parents around. There are kids who worry about that doorbell ringing and somebody saying that your father was a hero, he saved these people, but he won't be coming home.
Right,
People
right.
don't think about what that means.
Police,
so we
state
have to talk about
troopers,
that.
we've had,
Absolutely.
so many people. And it
Absolutely.
doesn't mean they're perfect, but
That's
it
true.
does mean, we all can make mistakes or whatever, but it does mean they're giving, they're sacrificing, they're putting themselves out there.
And in the ultimate ways. And I love the fact that you acknowledge that it's imperfection. In every area in our community, there are no perfect people.
Right.
We're human.
Right.
So you're going to have people who don't do what they should do, but you have so many more people that are giving everything that they've got to make sure that we live a wonderful, wonderful life to the best of our abilities. So teaching your kids, what does sacrifice really mean? When we talk about heroes, what is it that they're sacrificing to be that hero, and being able to acknowledge that? Then we move to the A. When you understand what the sacrifice is, let's now talk about appreciation. How do you show your thanks for what it is that people are doing? What does appreciation really mean? When we're living in a world full of children who are used to just getting and getting, and we feed that, whether we want to consciously or not as parents, through materialism and the yeses during times we probably should say no, but we don't, because we don't want our children to be upset with us or hate us or whatever it is that we may fear as the parents in the situation. So our kids are used to a world filled of me, 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 but we're not doing enough to help them develop the you. How does what's going on with me affect you? And appreciation is a big part of that, understanding what gratitude really is. Do you value what is being given to you? And back to that S, what is being sacrificed for you? So let's talk about what appreciation really means. And then how do you show it? Do you say thank you? How do you say thank you? How do you reach the people that you don't get a chance to see on a regular basis, but let them know, I appreciate what you're doing for me? Let's talk about that. We have to have those conversations. It's not enough to imply certain things and just assume your kids are going to get them.
Right.
You actually have to be purposeful about making sure that they get it. It is not so easy to just think in the midst of all of this that they hear all the messages we want to make sure they hear.
Well, and a simple thank you can go a very, very long way. And it also helps connect our children with the heroes, but as people too, as absolute people who are making sacrifices, not some kind of superhero, but just like us, only made community and life choices.
Absolutely. And nurturing those things in our kids. You know, we have to be conscious about our parenting. A lot of times we're so busy and we're doing so much that there are things that are taking place and we're not necessarily conscious. We're sort of in an automatic mode. So being conscious about what messages you're creating and what messages you want to send is something that we as parents have to take responsibility for. And if you don't know how to do it, that's what we're here for in Healthy Families. We can help you with learning how to connect with your teens, for instance. We have programs specifically called that, designed for that. We can help you learn how to even connect with your partner in building better relationships so that the appreciation is happening even at those levels. We can help you with the nurturing from 2 to 12 years old with your kids. We've got it all just about. So we're here to help those things because we don't all know how to do it.
And you start with those family connections.
Absolutely. And they extend beyond that. That's exactly right. So when we're talking about that sacrifice and then into that appreciation and learning how to develop those things, there are ways to be able to do that. And then going to that F, find. We need to find outlets for our kids to come into real contact with these community heroes. Sometimes, to your point previously, that they're way out there somewhere, you know, far away. They're not everyday moms and dads and teachers and spouses and friends. They're right here in our community, but sometimes their stories aren't told, their voices aren't heard, and we have to make a point of making sure that our kids get a chance to meet these people and find out what went into you doing this, what made you decide to do this, to hear the nobility that is behind that. that my father was a police officer, and I remember what it was like to do A, B, and C, and I remember being so proud of my dad as he did so and so, or my mom was a firefighter. I mean, there are women and men in every area of heroes, of the entire hero spectrum. You know, so making sure that our kids get a chance to connect with these people, and when you do, that A that we talked about, so all of them weave into each other, doing something that shows appreciation. When I mentioned my daughter having a father-in-law now that's a firefighter, at least quarterly, she goes and cooks for the entire fire department. And that's just because she wants them to know that I appreciate what you guys do every single day. Now, I'm not saying I'm a perfect parent.
Right,
I'm just saying that I wanted to raise some grateful kids, you know, and it's not hard to do, but we have to be purposeful about it. So there can be simple things, whether you're baking cookies for your police department, whether you're just taking, I hate to say it, you're taking donuts over to the fire department or even a school, you know, just things to just say, I see you, I know what you're doing, and I appreciate it if nobody else says it.
Oh, there's crossing guards, you know, stop. They're police officers, they're in uniform, stop and thank them. There's lots of ways that kids can interact now, especially with police, because unfortunately they have to, I mean, we didn't have police in my elementary school.
Indeed.
But, you know, it's a
But now it's an everyday experience.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you can be in Starbucks and, you know, just if you have an extra $5, $3, pay for that cup of coffee. You know, there's just little ways that we can just say, I appreciate you. I know the sacrifice you're making, and I appreciate you. And we have to teach our kids to be able to do those things. But the most effective way to do that is our E, by example. It is virtually impossible to teach a child to be something or to do something that you're not prepared to model. The most effective teaching mechanism for any parent is your modeling. Model the behavior you want to see in your kids. If you're seeing something in your children that you don't like, the first thing we have to ask ourselves is, where did they get that from? And then we also have to be kind of honest sometimes. If it's you, we've got to change what we're doing. Sometimes it is us. And it's not purposeful. It's just that we realize on a child, that doesn't look so cute. You know, and then we're like, I want to change that.
We're all busy. We excuse ourselves from doing some of those same things we expect our kids to do.
Absolutely. And we can't do that.
Right.
Because they're watching us. And they're paying more attention than we realize. Even when they have those two little wires hanging from their ears, from their earbuds, they're actually paying attention in ways that you don't think. They notice when you grab something from someone and don't bother to say thank you. When you walk through a door and you don't even hold it open for the next person. And they pick up those habits. So if we want to change the way that our community is, we've got to change what's happening in our households. And when we're changing what's happening in our households, we are affecting the world in small, meaningful ways every single day.
So also, you know, just stopping to talk to kids about it. Like I take it for granted. I think most of us who are not in law enforcement, fire service, or the military take for granted that they go to a job, I go to a job. That's different.
Very,
very different.
Because you're not getting shot at.
No, I am not.
Maybe via email.
My job is not a high-risk job.
Right. Yeah. We might get some volatile emails, but we don't have anybody trying to kill us every day.
And that, you know, deployment or the different, you know, the 12-hour shifts or the overnight shifts.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think filling in family gaps, helping the parent who's at home.
Absolutely.
And the child, you know, a little 2-year-old said the other day, Daddy gone, Daddy on a boat. You know, understanding how that sacrifice affects the whole family.
It is true. It's very true. And the things that we bring to our awareness, that we lift to our conscious levels, change the way that we operate. The thing that gets us in trouble is that they live below our conscious levels. So we're not intentionally trying to be ungrateful. It's just that because it's not our everyday reality, it just falls from that place of awareness. Our job is every time we have the opportunity to lift that back into the conversation. And when we do that, eventually we create new normals in our household. So if the new normal is appreciation, if the new normal is an acknowledgement for the sacrifices that are made, you're changing the character levels of the people inside of your household. And that has widespread effect. When you change the character of a kid, you change the experience in a classroom, you change the experience in a workplace, you change the experience in a community. Each of those things have a very snowball effect. Small things make huge differences. We don't have to fix the huge things all at once if we just go back to working on the small things again. But it's just in lifting those things to our consciousness so that our kids can see that these are people in our community every day that love you in ways that you don't even realize.
Right, right.
Just, you are not alone in this process. We are not alone as a family in this process. And when we sleep at night, there's somebody that's not sleeping in order to make sure that we can. And that's something that is worthy of appreciation. So when we talk about honoring our community heroes, there is a wide span of people who fall into that category. We need to make sure that we are more aware on a regular basis of who they are, and we're talking about that with our kids.
Wonderful. I can't even add it. So we're going to go ahead and close.
Absolutely.
And just, you know, it's elevated the issue to my consciousness, and I hope to other parents, because it isn't just about parenting and teaching our kids. It is also about how we live our lives. And making sure that we're doing those things too.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Alvean.
It's my pleasure.
It. And thank you for watching. I hope you will use the acronym SAFE to help you remember about the people who are keeping us safe and how important that is. Thanks for watching.